But first and foremost, there are rumors that you guys are just hiding out in Mexico or something like that because you're trying to evade arrest.
No, whoa, we're not hiding.
Okay.
We're like, hey, we're here. We left America to live our lives because you can't live your life in America anymore. So many people have left America. Americans are actually here in Mexico because it's a much better country. It's more free than it is out there. So
yeah, we come back and forth to the United States all the time. We just went through customs.
We go through customs all the time.
It was Christmas.
Okay.
If we're hiding, we're doing a really bad job.
Okay. Yeah. No. I just, I wanted to get that out there and just double check. So
no, the true reason we came down here is after a lot of people won't know our story, but after the Department of Justice fell under Carol Baskin's control, she had us raided at 5 o'clock in the morning with 47 armed federal agents with machine guns, night vision scope. They came in and they took all of our animals with accusations of mistreatment and veterinary care being insufficient, which, 6 months down after we had been vilified by the press for mistreating our animals, it was all dropped. They came to us and they dropped everything. They dropped the fines, they dropped everything. But I just made that determination that, to build a zoo and do what we were doing in the United States, just feasibly didn't make any sense anymore. And we have friends down here who had thousands of acres of jungle that they didn't use, and friends with licenses to have all the animals. So we came down here to do what we wanted to do.
But it wasn't just that. When we got raided and the feds had all the marshals had all their guns, they actually went into our baby's room, and our baby was sleeping, and she was only two or a year and a half old, and they had machine guns and they were pointing them at her. And I was like, we can't do this anymore. This is not a safe country. I was like, there's too much.
It wasn't safe for you guys because that's not happening to my kids, thank God. But yeah, that's definitely.
And they came to arrest me.
She almost got arrested.
I almost got arrested because I jumped in because I was like, "You're not doing this here," and they're like, "We have every right to arrest you specifically." And I said,
"Okay,
yeah,
wow." So you guys are basically saying let's say you move back to Florida, you would be able to open another animal type of place, and that would be an exotic animal type of place. Okay.
No, in part of the agreement with the DOJ that they dropped charges, we agreed that we would never hold an exhibitor's license. Now, we can go back and we can own lions and tigers just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And now you have to register them through the, through the state, through the federal government. But it's like, why? This place has got better weather than the United States, much more freedom than the United States.
It's a lot nicer people here.
And you've got 8 million tourists coming through this particular city.
But what do you guys do for income? Like, how do you live?
Everybody was under the impression that Jeff Lowe was broke. Jeff Lowe has never been broke. Jeff Lowe's always had money. Even when we were being questioned by the federal authorities, how did we have the money to help Joe? How did we have the money to build a new zoo? I've always had money, and we never have to work another day in our life if we don't want to.
But you've always had money just because you just are a hustler? Like you work really hard? Like what, just different businesses?
I did. I've busted my ass. Ever since I was 18 years old, I owned my own business. And by the time I was 40, maybe, long time ago, by the time I was 40, I was retired and I'd moved to South Carolina, and I just couldn't stay retired. I got bored and opened up retail stores, and that's how I met Lauren. So yeah, I've done really, really well. And I don't spend a bunch of money on clothes and things that everybody make fun of me of. That kind of stuff just doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
And security for the family is all that mattered to me.
So, but if you had this money, you had all this money before, and you were accused of stealing money, is that
from who?
From
who? Who's I accused of stealing money from?
Well, our friend Joe. Yeah. So
Joe came to me. Joe heard that I was buying a zoo in Colorado while living in a 13,000 square foot mansion with a pool inside and Ferraris in the garage. I've had the money. Joe came to me and says, can you help me out? I'm dying of AIDS and I'm broke, and they're, all of this this sob story.
He always gave the same sob story to everybody.
And he showed us pictures from when he had a facelift, and his face reacted poorly to the surgery. And he told me that it was him dying.
Yeah,
and he was 2 hours from death. Which was another lie. He conned me into going to Oklahoma and looking at his place. And sure enough, he was, the cats did not look healthy. He had 250 tigers. They were thin. The electricity or the water one was like within hours of being cut off. They were out of meat.
Lawyers were about to give up.
His lawyers on Carol Baskin's case were about to quit. Lauren and I went in, and I pulled out a checkbook, or she pulled out a checkbook, and we stroked checks for everything. With $35,000 to this attorney, $5,000 for
$10,000 actually, about $10,000 for one attorney because they were about to quit. I remember writing that one.
And then it was just one thing after another
But what about, sorry to interrupt you, what about the accusations of bank fraud and sex trafficking? And, where are these coming from? Because they have to come from somewhere. Identity theft. I mean, I wanted to get to that. The Robbie Knievel. What do you make of that? Like, this is serious.
No,
it's complete bullshit. Joe has nothing but time. He sits 24 hours in a jail cell and just makes up shit. If I was, put it this way, for 15 minutes, Lauren and I were one of the most famous couples on planet Earth. Why didn't Robbie Knievel come out and say that I cheated him? You didn't hear it. Robbie's dead now, unfortunately. He was my brother. I mean, Robbie and I were like brothers for 11 years. I managed Robbie. Robbie had a serious, I won't talk bad about the dead, but Robbie, as we all know, it's all over the internet, had some demons. I helped rescue those demons, helped Robbie make millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, and didn't take any money because I already had my own money. I've never taken a dime from Robbie Knievel. Once Robbie Knievel got to the point where he had spent all of his money and couldn't do shows anymore, he started borrowing money from me. And my first wife isn't like my second wife. She would not have had it. So my first wife made me take collateral of Robbie's motorcycles, Robbie's helmets, everything that Robbie had that was worth a dime. We wrote a contract out. Now I'll send you the contract. Robbie signed it. I think we had it notarized even. And I'm not going to hand him $200,000 and not be protected if Robbie takes off, for the mountains. So it's all human trafficking. What human trafficking,
He told that to feds were showing up at our house every day when they were trying to investigate Joe. They were at our house every single day. We were too busy working a zoo. We don't have time for human trafficking.
I wish
That's
I had time.
That's a whole different world.
Okay.
That we step in.
I could say all kinds of things about Joe. And look, here's the difference. I have a notepad and a pen. Anything that you ask me for copies of what I say, or evidence of what I say, I will send to you. Joe can't do that. Joe can't give you any specifics. He can say that I human trafficked. He can say that I was behind in my Ferrari payments. He's taken gossip from all over the place and tried to build a story of why this guy is the bad guy.
He wants to hurt the people who helped him, because that's the type of person he is. He actually hates females regardless. The only times he loves females is when you're giving him attention or money. That's the only time. He tried to get rid of me straight from the beginning, way before Jeff and I got married, because I was actually watching the bank accounts at the zoo. And when I noticed that there was small things that should not have been spent here and there, Joe freaked out. And so Joe actually started rumors about me at the zoo, saying I was sleeping with his husband, and it was like, what the hell? And so he was trying to break me and Jeff up so I would leave.
Wow.
Joe is a master manipulator. And that's the problem, is everybody who meets Joe says, man, he's so nice, he's so likable. And even his own family wouldn't show up in his defense. So, and with all due respect to you, Lauren, you don't know Joe. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. You don't know us, but guess what? We're sitting free. We just went through customs 5 times last year there's no arrest warrants out for us because we haven't done anything. Joe is the one who's sitting in federal prison for 22 years. And
what about the evidence on the videotapes or whatever? There's supposedly video footage and phone footage of you guys, you know, admitting to wrongdoing. That does not exist, or
Go find it.
yeah.
Go find
Okay.
it. I mean,
okay.
Joe says that we committed perjury. What did we
Right.
commit perjury on? When we signed affidavits, it was the same thing we had said all the way from the beginning.
Mhm.
Joe did do this. We were here at this time. We had no connection with this, blah, 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 whatever. There was no
Okay.
difference. So
yeah. Joe says that everybody lied in perjury. The only one who lied in perjury?
no, who's the only
During
one who's
testimony.
lying? The only one
The
who's
only
like
one
lying
who
and going back
lied.
and forth.
The only one who lied, who's flip-flopped several times, is Alan Glover. And James sticks to the same story. Every word that we spoke has been the same and consistent all along. Now, I was never even put under sworn, what do you call it?
You weren't even put on the
Under oath, or
Under oath.
okay. Yeah.
Never put under oath. And still, I've got text messages from Joe's lawyer and from Tiger King producers, they're good. Both of them saying, you know what, for somebody who's always been accused of being a liar or stretching truth, he says, you've stuck to the same exact story since day one and have never wavered. He says, I got to give you that. And I said, it's because it's the truth. You know, there's nothing that I refuse to answer, nothing. And the evidence that we have that Joe doesn't know we have is just, it's so much, I don't even know where to begin.
But what do you mean? What type of evidence? Evidence proving him wrong against what he said about you guys, or just in general? Okay.
You know, Joe, we have recordings. John Phillips has this recording, okay, where he wants to play all the recordings that we turned over to him to try to help Joe. Because at one point, when we get raided by 47 feds in our own home and our animals are taken, and I went to John Phillips and I said, I want you to see what I have now about these assholes. Because while Joe did do what he did, we fully concede that the federal government kind of played some dirty tricks. Now, it doesn't exonerate Joe, and it certainly doesn't mean that he didn't do what he did, but it meant that, okay, the feds think that they're so smart, they were too stupid to know that we had recorded them doing this. You know, hiring prostitutes for the hitman or those kind of things that have never even come out on Tiger King. But we went to John Phillips with
John Phillips promised us representation, that he would be our lawyer.
Yeah, Phillips knew that the DOJ was coming.
And for people listening, it's Joe's lawyer, John Phillips.
It's Joe's lawyer,
and he was our lawyer.
Yes.
He ended up being our lawyer. We actually signed a contract. Yeah.
So we turned over phones, hard drives, everything. How many people would you give your phone to and say, here, have at it? We did it in the matter of 2 hours because we were raided at 5 a.m. and we were in Jacksonville at his office before sunrise. And we handed him our phones, our computers, everything. And I said, if I got anything to hide, you've got it now. So Phillips took recordings that were beneficial to Joe, and he hasn't revealed the ones that showed where a guy shows up at the park after Joe's fled. Was it? I don't know if he had been arrested.
He was been arrested because everybody was too scared to come out because Joe had threatened their life, so they didn't come out.
So the guy comes to us and he says, "Look," he says, "I was Joe's nighttime security guard. I'm the one who walked this park at night after the studio got burned down. Well, Joe burnt the studio down to hide the hard drives that Carol wanted, and a judge was going to make Joe turn over to Carol. Well, the studio mysteriously burns down. Well, we have those hard drives now. Thank you." So this guy comes in and he's real wishy-washy about wanting to talk to me. And finally I said, "Look, you came, sought out me. What do you want?" And he says, "Well, I just want to let you know that, you know, I was the nighttime security guard walking around here, and I would see those boys." And I think by boys, he's talking about Joe and John Finley, because those are the only two that lived in Joe's house, taking animals into the house at 3 a.m. where horrible noises would emanate for the next hour, bringing the animals back up. The bestiality charge that the federal government is going to file against John Finley, they knew it was happening. We have thumb drives. We knew it was happening. Or they knew it was happening. And Joe's true. They probably Joe's correct. They probably gave Finley a
Right,
pass
because
if he would
he
testify
admitted.
against Joe. But Joe
Okay.
didn't kill just 5 tigers. Joe killed 100 tigers.
Hundreds.
Joe didn't just sell 5 cubs. He sold hundreds of cubs. Joe didn't just try to get 2 hitmen. He tried to get everybody that walked up to Joe who had any military background experience, any ex-police experience, if he knew they owned a gun, he would try to solicit them to go kill Carol Baskin.
But
How was
going
that
back,
him up?
well, I was going to say going back to sort of, I don't know if you were kind of talking off the cuff in the middle of this, you kind of said, like, in a way, Joe maybe doesn't deserve all the years that he got with some of the animal stuff.
Right. He deserves more.
Look, Joe.
Oh, I don't think I felt like you were going, I actually felt like, Jeff, you were going the opposite. You were kind of saying, look, it wasn't as bad as, that's what I gathered from sort of your tone. And I see you looking away because you do feel a little bad. I think you do feel a little bad. I do.
Here's what I was going to say. The system is never going to be perfect, all right? Ghislaine Maxwell got 20 years for helping Jeffrey Epstein. Is that, how do you compare that to Joe's sentence? You know, Joe tried to have a woman killed, and he killed beautiful tigers for the sake of $1. I don't know how you reconcile one crime against another. And that's not for us to decide. That was for the federal government to put these guidelines. But Joe knew, if I sold a tiger, it's 5 years in prison. If I killed a tiger, it's 5 years in prison. So he knew these things. Joe's not stupid. You can talk to him and realize that he's not stupid. Joe had to have known that if you try to solicit somebody's murder, it's going to be major time. So I don't feel sorry that Joe is in prison for 21 or 17 more years at this point. But, you know, you have to, as you're trying to gauge that, you're trying to reconcile someone who goes to prison for 5 years for, you know, involuntary manslaughter. You know, the prison system isn't under my control. And, you know, I know his lies about being beaten in prison. You know, why? This is the first time we hear everything Joe says. First time in 4.5, almost 5 years, that he's changed it now to he was beaten by guards. We heard, you know, he's got billboards and everything where his wrists are bloody from being strapped into a chair and handcuffed. Okay, if he had been beaten unconscious, he would have put that into the story years ago. Joe just, the story grows and grows and grows for Joe. Nobody can ever, there is no human trafficking here. Lauren and I, we go out to clubs, and if we meet a girl or whoever we want, that is not human trafficking.
Right,
and
right.
If we,
I see.
You know, Joe just likes to exaggerate everything. Talking about the Robbie Knievel thing, Jesus Christ, me and Robbie were close for 11 years. Joe doesn't know jack shit about Robbie Knievel. He's never spoken to Robbie Knievel. And when he falls back on stupid shit like I dress like Robbie Knievel, well, I would argue that Robbie Knievel dressed like me. You know, Joe says he's worn the same leather jacket. Jesus Christ, Joe. I met him 6 years ago. He had that fringed leather jacket on, and he wore it to the day he was arrested. So, you know, it's just stupid tit for tat. But Joe never wants to get down to the brass tacks that he was recorded, not by me, because Lauren and I were living in Las Vegas. There's a recording of him asking a hitman to cut off Carol Baskin's head. Period. That's not me setting him up. I'm 1,000 or 1,200 miles away.
Right.
No,
I think I not to interrupt you, I'm sorry. I think his struggle, I think part of this is he feels maybe he's guilty for one thing, sure. And this is like, you know, this might be bigger picture. I think he feels that everybody else is just as guilty for different things, but he is the one rotting in a jail cell. I think that's where this is coming from, where he's incredibly frustrated. He knows he's not perfect, but he doesn't think you guys are perfect. He doesn't think, you know, he obviously doesn't think Carol Baskin's perfect. So I think he feels, you know, this rage and this frustration.
Thought I was perfect. He thought I was perfect when he was taking my money. And then when the money dried up and I cut him off, you know, Joe never owned that zoo. Okay. He was never the owner of the zoo. Why? Because Joe always puts somebody else on paper to take the fall. If it's a liquor license, he doesn't apply for it.
Like the bar was never his.
Yeah, he puts people in front of him because he knows he's gonna break the law and get in trouble. And he did the same shit with us. And
But
I
we
just,
caught him in
and
time.
I called him on it. There's videos, we've got videos up on YouTube of me confronting him in his office.
Well, we should say like, so how we caught him, we snuck back into town from Las Vegas and we went to the banks because we got cut off from logging into the bank account.
And it was
And
ours too.
we had no idea. So we went into the bank and we asked for all the bank records and we sat back at our house and I went through every single thing and we found about $110,000 worth of miscellaneous spending. But while we were at the bank, the woman told us that our bank account was being watched by the feds and we're like, what's going
what the
on?
hell? For what?
So then we we found out all this miscellaneous spending. So then we go to our lawyers, who also was Joe's lawyers too, and we told them what was going on and that we were scared because we figured that Joe did hire a hitman to go kill Carol. Our lawyers are the ones who told the feds, and then the feds came to us.
Yeah, so we didn't go to the feds. We went to our
We did the
attorneys.
right thing.
And our attorneys were obligated by law, when they know that there's a homicide being planned, to intervene, and they intervened.
Wow. Well, just to sort of wrap things up, this is just a lot. This is a lot. Your personal opinion, do you think Don Lewis is alive?
Hell no.
Okay.
Don is
why would she say that? Wouldn't she have to give money back? And like, I mean, I don't understand why she would say that.
That you would return the life insurance.
You know, the only reason, as soon as I saw that, I thought, this is Carol trying to cleanse her name. She's either got some TV deal that she wants to make.
Well, this is what Joe said. You guys are the same. He said the same thing. So
yeah, she's got something up her sleeve. Carol never does anything without being fully calculated. And
actually, I'm going to stop you. Hold on. Actually, I just remembered this. When she said this was an interview in 2021 with ITV, and somehow it got buried. No one noticed that she said this in passing, and then somebody discovered it, and then it went viral. So this is actually almost 2 years old. So now I'm wondering, what did she do in 2021? Was she on Dancing with the Stars or something like that? I don't remember. Yeah. It must have been something like that. So no, right? Just thinking about it, she must have had something like that. She was, and just for the record, I don't think she's a good person either. And this is me saying it from not meeting anyone, because it always drives me crazy when people are like, I hate this person. You don't know them. You did not, obviously murderers and people like that goes without saying. You don't have to know a murderer to know they're not a good person. But I just want to clear that. But is there anything else? Is there anything else that you want people to know, or you want to say right now?
We're not in hiding. We're living our life in Mexico. We're enjoying our life with our family. We do go back and forth from the United States.
And we are in communication with the feds. So, not problems that we are being looked at for, but other people. And they're just trying to get clarification on things that, like Alan Glover. Let's go back and revisit Alan Glover. Alan Glover has now changed his story to say that he and I had planned to kill Joe. Okay. Alan Glover used to call me from the park. Lauren and I were living in Las Vegas. Alan hated Joe. These two were just like butting heads all day long. And he'd say, "Do you care if I drop a chainsaw on this, SOB?" And it just got to the point where I said, "Alan, you just got to go home. Just get away from Joe. It's not worth $150 a week. Joe was paying him $150 a week." I said, "It's just not worth it." So Alan is, we talk about Robbie Knievel and his demons. Alan is like 10 steps above Robbie with his demons. And Alan was, there's a period where Alan and I didn't speak for months and months and months. And that was while Joe was trying to hire him to kill Carol, because Alan knew that if I got wind of it, I would put an end to it. I would stop it. And we've even got Alan saying that in a phone recording, just saying, "I'm sorry I didn't tell you." So Alan stopped taking my phone calls. He stopped messaging us on social media. And when the feds came to us, I said, "Look, Alan just called me after 6 months. He just called me a week ago. And I said, I spoke to him, and they had me call him back, just with the feds standing there. Alan could have said anything in the world he wanted to say.
You cannot rehearse Alan to say anything. He's
Mhm.
he's all over the board.
Alan is,
Wow.
you'll never get the same story out of him twice. And, he's got a third grade education, and now we're supposed to believe that he signed a 10-page affidavit at John Phillips' office with
And
all
knew
of these
exactly what
intricate
he-
details. And
Oh, like
And then we
redlining
find
and
out-
stuff, you're saying?
yeah, it's just so ridiculous.
Okay.
And now we find out from someone involved with the Tiger King production
Mhm.
who went to the zoo with John Phillips and Alan Glover to find this mysterious
Wire.
ball of
Yarn.
barbed wire that Alan and I were going to have Joe killed with while I was in Vegas, by the way. And she said they were making up the whole thing. She says, I didn't agree with it. I told them I didn't agree with it. So you just got
Well, we found out that Alan was promised by John Phillips that something about
to
that,
fix his swimming pool.
that Phillips was going to fix his dad's swimming
Yeah,
pool.
so there's always this
It was just like
incestuous
a whole
BS
bunch of
going
stuff.
back and
It's
forth.
like, are you serious?
And you know what? John Phillips, there's a lot coming out on John Phillips. SEC violations. Joe talks about being broke, okay? Joe got 300, and Joe extorted, or Joe's attorneys extorted, and I'll send you the paperwork,
Okay.
extorted the T-King cryptocurrency that was made for Joe to help with Joe's legal defense.
Okay.
They are being accused by Joe's other attorney of extorting $325,000 into John Phillips, not his legal account, not Joe's IOLA account. They sent it into John Phillips' media publishing account.
Philo. Philo?
No,
Okay.
the Folio
Folio.
magazine in Jacksonville.
Oh.
Why would you do that? The only reason you could do that I can think of is to either launder that money or to hide it from Carol Baskin's $1 million judgment against Joe.
And so that way also his partner Hunt couldn't get a hold of the money.
And, and then on top of that, you've got John Phillips up there for a year advertising the TK coin
Mm.
without disclosing that he's being
That he's
paid.
being paid by
The
him.
same thing that Kim Kardashian just fined $1.2 million for one event. John Phillips has been doing it for a year. John Phillips arranged a 45-minute prison phone call between Joe and me and Lauren. And you don't hear, like when you guys talk to him on the phone, you'd hear this is a federal
No,
prison. He
Right.
didn't hear it. You know
Hear
why?
it on our
It's
call.
because he had the cell phone that we think John Phillips gave him. And it's a 45-minute cell phone call. Joe gets caught with a cell phone and goes to the shoe for 3 months. It's just, these guys are just so dumb and so blatantly careless, and then must want to throw accusations out about us. We're down here living our lives, doing our thing, not hurting anybody. But if you came to me
Yeah.
and you needed your house payment made,
Mhm.
guess what? Jeff is the guy who's going to make your house payment. That's gotten me into all this trouble all these years. Robbie Knievel had
Interesting.
trouble. Joe Exotic had trouble. John Rinke had trouble. Well, here Jeff saves the damn day, and it always bites us in the ass. So, we're just done helping morons like that.
Mhm.
And I'd rather come down here and walk around this neighborhood. We live in a really nice place, but the surroundings in Mexico, as you can imagine,
Mhm.
You have your height, you
the
have
consistency
upclass,
in status is different. I'd
Yeah.
rather go around here and give money to these families to fix their homes and to feed their kids. And we enjoy doing that. We enjoy
I
coming
love
down here
giving
and helping.
candy or to the kids out here. They get so excited, and that's what
I'm
I
sure.
love.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah.
And the families know you're there just to help them. I actually went through my daughter's closet the other day and went through clothes that she can't fit anymore. And I
Yeah.
gave them to kids down on the block that they're probably younger than her and they'll fit her.
But then
So-
we come home, we turn on the computers or look at our phones, and Joe, Jeff belongs in prison. He can't say why I belong in prison. He just says I belong in prison. And
Well, don't think he
I'm just
has
so
it
sick of it.
easy by any means. So he does not have it easy. So I think that's definitely I know that you guys both have your trouble, and I think equally like you have not had it easy. The whole thing is just so heartbreaking to me, and just so sad that so many lives had to be destroyed and ruined and messed with. And like, look, you guys, maybe you love Mexico, but I don't think that it was your plan in life to move to Mexico. So it's just, the whole thing is sad.
Many
Well, I can
people's
move back.
lives.
I mean, there's no reason we can't
Yeah.
move back. I just can't exhibit tigers or so.
We can't enjoy.
I
the
don't
lives that we
sit and
want to.
bitch and moan like Joe. If there's a
Well, you're not in
problem-
prison though. That's the thing. It's like,
I
I
wouldn't
don't
be
know.
dumb enough to put myself in prison. I wouldn't hire a hit on a woman. I wouldn't hand Alan Glover. I told Joe came to me one time, and the feds know this is part of it.
Recording.
Joe came to me and he says, Alan Glover's got that teardrop. What's that mean? I said, well, I don't know for sure, but it usually means that's,
Somebody.
that
Yes.
you've killed somebody.
Yes. Uh-huh.
You
Correct.
think he's capable of going down and killing Carol? And I said, Joe, anybody's capable of pulling a trigger, pointing a gun at somebody. I said, but is Alan Glover the guy who walks into a tiger cage and doesn't lock the door behind him?
Oh,
Is he the one? Yeah, Paul coming in.
sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I said, is he the one you want to put, your faith in for the rest of your life?
Mhm.
And he just didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't listen to me. He didn't listen because
Well-
Joe always thinks he knows more than everybody.
The last thing, I'll say is I feel for him as well with the sentence, only because I don't think it helped much. The court of public opinion had already decided so much stuff between his web show. And I know he was sentenced before the actual show came out. But then once the show came out, he did try to get an appeal or motion for an appeal, which has been postponed, denied. And I do believe that is in direct response to just the outlandish things that he has said and that he has done on the show, which was pretty much made to be for good TV. So
And he continues to do it. How many times have you heard he's engaged while he's been in prison? To different men.
I don't know.
How many times have you been engaged? Lauren, how many times have you been engaged?
Well, once,
There you go.
and I married.
There you go.
Yeah, no. Listen, I feel like I always wanted to be a gay guy at heart. They have so much fun and they get to have, all this fun with all these people, and no, I'm just kidding. But yeah. So, but no, guys, thank you so much for your time. And I'm glad that, I can give you this platform to tell your side here and just any rebuttal that you wanted. So I definitely, yeah, absolutely. I want to be fair. I want to get it all out there, get the story out because, I firmly believe the story it's many people are involved here. I hope I can get Carol's side here with Don Lewis and whatnot. So we'll see. But,
About that one.
I'll send you James Garrison. James wanted to be on this. We had a meeting at City Hall this morning, but I'll send you his contact.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much again.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.